Hello and welcome to the online video blog with Cam the Cameraman. I am Cam the Cameraman and you can catch me on Twitter. And if you've got any questions, please shoot them through. Just a little follow-up from last week's show where I commented about the codec, and one of my followers, or one of the people watching the video, was at Krigsy, who starts with Stuart Media next week, and we're very excited to have him on board. He had a bit of a look at it and actually found that it was a coding problem, and you can see here he said it's something to do with the param scale, and hopefully Jay Suchberry, that was helpful enough. There was another couple of email conversations or Twitter conversations go backwards and forwards there. Krigsy makes the interesting point that maybe the option would have been better for it to have been a posted video rather than a hosted video. In the instance that was there, the video was actually hosted locally, where maybe it might have been better for those videos to have been put on YouTube. That brings me to a problem that I had this week with a client that we're working on. They had a whole heap of WMVs on their site that were hosted, and we wanted to put them in a posted environment for a number of reasons. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go through the process that I took to actually do that. Not so much because it's the correct process and the process that you should use every time, but hopefully this process will show you the process I went through, a couple of the mistakes I made, and how I fixed them and how we got the end result right. So I'm going to sort of move through. This will be more of a step-by-step tutorial than what I've done in previous weeks, and hopefully it makes some sense for you. So the first thing I did is I started off, we use Macs here at the office, and I started off by looking at the website that we had the videos hosted on, and without revealing the client's details, this is the website, and over on the side, this is the video that popped up. Now, being in a Mac environment, we run a program called Flip for Mac, which allows us to play WMV videos. And so there's two videos I'm going to focus on here, one that is a client video about WebJet, and one which is a client video about www digital. And the reason I'm going to talk about them is that one's a 16:9 and one's a 4:3 video, and so hopefully there'll be some learnings to be done there. So the first thing I did is the first attempt I made was that I did a right click and I was able to save as a QuickTime movie. Now I did that, and I thought this is going to be the easiest way to get it uploaded, and as is often the case, the codec mix and the way it worked didn't work correctly, and it didn't actually create something. So when I uploaded it, and I've got one that's on the boil here, let me just go to the one that I actually uploaded, one that's here. I got to this point and went through the whole process, uploaded it at YouTube, and then when I came to my videos, I got this error message. This is the WebJet one. Failed, unable to convert video file. So what that's telling me is that YouTube couldn't use the video that I was wanting to propose to them. So I've got a little bit of a problem now. So what I decided to do is I thought, well, I could try and re-encode it, but I'm actually going to tidy the thing up a little bit. I'm going to make sure it's all correctly formatted, and I'm going to make sure I've got a nice 16:9 video, because a couple of the videos were squashed in a 4:3 frame. So I thought, okay, let's go through the whole process. This process works for me for standard def videos or videos that have been ripped, and it's just a really easy process, and it works every single time pretty much. It did require that I went out to Windows. Now we run Parallels here, and so what I did is I went out to Windows. So here I am in Windows, and this is the same site, and what I did in this instance for the two videos, and we're going to be looking at the two videos here, and I'll only do it and demonstrate it with one, is that I opened up the little pop-up window, had a look at viewed the page source, and what I found out in here was I found that the video was residing in the same directory, and it was called customer@www.wmv. So what I was able to do is I was then able to type that directly into my browser, press enter, and it popped up the Windows Media Player. Now the reason I did this was so that I could get the Save As option. And so what I was able to do then is I was able to save media as a WMV, and a WMV. I'm not sure why the QuickTime plugin didn't work, but it didn't, and so this way I'm getting a WMV in a Windows environment, and so everything should work a little bit better. That was fine, and I could have taken that straight away, that WMV, and straight away uploaded it to YouTube, but I'd made the decision after the first step failed that I wanted to tidy these videos up and make sure that I got my correct framing and all of those sorts of things. Now, compressing an already compressed video isn't a great idea, but I decided it was better than having squashed video, and it meant that I had a standard development environment, or a standard environment that I knew I was going to be working from. I was going to get a set codec at the end, that I was going to make sure that everything was going to be the same, and I felt that that was actually more beneficial than some of the furriness that I'm going to get from re-encoding some video. So the first step I did, and this works very, very well. The DV codec is a codec that's been around for a very long time. It's a pretty high quality codec. It's about a 1:5 compression ratio in standard definition, and it's the same data as you would find on one of the mini DV tapes that the old style cameras used to use. Well, not old style, there's still some around, but it's the same data as you'll find on that, and so therefore it's very and highly compatible. So if you can get anything into that format, it then makes it easy to convert to another format afterwards, and it's a little bit of a trick that I've learned over the years to save myself a lot of time, because if you've got a particular codec coming in and you want a particular codec coming out, you can get all sorts of interplay, and this way, once you've got a standard DV and you've got a standardized environment, you can then start working on it standard. So what we've done here is that we've taken it into Windows Movie Maker, the standard movie making software that comes with Windows, and then just dragged it onto the timeline and then exported it. So the final bit is finish movie, save to my computer. Now this is really important that we get this right. In Australia we are PAL, in other parts of the world there's NTSC. It's really important you get that right. That's to do with frame rate, and we will talk about that in future episodes. But we need to make sure it's PAL if it's a PAL video coming in. If it's an NTSC video coming in, we need to make sure we're exporting as NTSC as well. Those can all be controlled in the settings area. The other thing I made sure was that this WebJet video, I'm pretty sure, was a 4:3 video. So I came into my settings here and I went to options and made sure that I was going to output a 4:3 video as well. Obviously for the 16:9 video I changed that back. Once I'd exported that as a DV AVI video, I was left with a file that was quite large. So here's the folder in which I've got the video, and what I've done is I've got the WMVs from Windows, and it's really important that you keep things very, very obviously named. Naming protocols and filing structures is really important to me, because you can end up getting quite a lot of files and a lot of different revisions, and it's very hard to work out which one is which. So I like to try and create different folders. So I've gone WMVs from Windows, so they're all the ones that I downloaded, that I showed you before, and I actually downloaded them within Parallels within Windows. And then what I did is I created a separate exported folder, and these are files that I've been working with. So I finished off with a webjet.avi or the .avi. As you can see, it's a reasonably large video file, and I certainly don't want to upload that to YouTube. It's going to hammer my bandwidth for too long a period of time. And I can certainly shrink it down without having much quality loss. But that is a near full resolution AVI file that is highly compatible, and I know I can work with it. Once I'd done that, I could shut down Parallels and stop working in that environment, and I then came over and used a program called Adobe Media Encoder. Now there's hundreds of different encoding software out there. I'm going to show you how I do it in this, but of course there is other software that you could use, and if you're in Mac environments there's Compressor and there's all sorts of things, Sorrison and all sorts of things. This is the one I chose to use, mainly because it's on both platforms if you've got the CS4 suite installed. So what I've done is I've installed the two videos, and one of them is a 16:9 and one is a 4:3. I then wanted to change the settings, so what I did is I'm working on the dub video here, which is the 16:9 video. So the first thing I want to do is I want to change my presets here. I don't want my preset to be HTSC DV quality. I'm actually going to use the preset for standard definition widescreen YouTube. This is going to give me a video compressed in H.264 codec, and it's going to be running at 30 frames a second, which I want to change. So I go down here and go to PAL. Then I want to have a look at my video, so I just drag my clip in a little bit so I can see a frame. I can then go to my output, and what I can see is I've got a problem with my input and my output. The source is 16:9, the output is a 4:3 with a 16:9 crop. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here, I'm going to change it to 16:9, and then what I could do if I needed to tidy up, and sometimes you'll get little black lines around here, if I needed to tidy up I come to my source, I add the cropping tool, and I can crop in on that video a little bit. In this instance I don't need to, because I can see my outputs looking really, really nice. I've then left the settings pretty much all as they were, ACC. It's always good to work with presets and modify them as needed rather than trying to create a preset from scratch. It takes a lot of skill to know what particular settings, and there's a heap of variables in there, and I generally prefer not to get involved with them. Once I've done that, I can hit the Start Queue button, and I will end up with some videos that are quite small in comparison. So if we look at this dub video, the MP4 of it is about 1/10 of the size, and the WebJet video around about the same thing again. And so we've compressed the video back down again. That's a little problem that I've had during the week, and I hope it's beneficial to you to be able to go through and explain how I would go through the process. I'm sure a lot of you have different ways that you use it, different tools, and there's great tools out there. Shoot me a tweet on Twitter if you've got a favourite tool. I particularly like the virtual dub software on PC, but I don't use PCs as much. It's really cool. But if you've got any tools that you like using and you'd like to talk about them, please shoot them through. Or if there's a particular problem that you're having, please ask me some questions and we'll try and answer them in a future episode.